वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् आतसी पुष्पसङ्काशं नूपुरशोभितं रत्नकङ्कणकेयूरं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. So we did this last time, right? This we covered last time. Now, okay. We also discussed this last time, Osho always emphasizes that you must know your type based on your understanding of what your type is. Where is your leaning strongest? You will understand your path. So he says, if you are the kind who enjoys the interpersonal relationship, who thrives on it, you are able to engage well in relationships. It is um, uh, and silence creates anxiety in you. You feel like तुम मुरझा रहे हो. अगर silence में हो तो you like that noise. Then karma and engaging with people and jumping into life, and that is your path. Your path is not sannyas. Then it's not that sitting. So never forget the four aspects of yoga: karma, jnana, kriya, and bhakti. All of these four need to, this is my understanding from Sadhguru, all these four apply to everybody, but in one aspect, your own proportion will be higher. So some of us may be higher on gyan, and other things will be very small proportion. So in this, if you are this kind, your karma yoga will be the largest portion. Maybe 60%, maybe 70% is that, and only say 10% is bhakti, or Gyan is only 5%. There are people like this, and I'm seeing such people around me who are so naturally, seva comes so naturally to them, and really, it's like they don't want anything out of it. They're so happy, and they like to be with people, and they engage. And this tapasya, sitting, doing meditation is not their thing, but they are able to engage with people, be of service. They are big into volunteering. I know such people around me. So maybe that does make sense. Why make make then your meditation practice 80%? Because that's not how you're cut out. You will not thrive in that soil. Then if you are very buddhi oriented, buddhi oriented people also says, then Vishuddha Buddhi is the path, because uh, remember Krishna had said there are so many things that you can, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So Osho said, pick up one thing and just work with it. So what is that one thing? What is your leaning the strongest? Work with it, other things will follow. So if silence and solitude is your thing, you feel more peaceful. This is what makes you blossom and makes you bloom. Then that is the path for you. Like that quiet meditation alone. What we do in our tapas practice is really like a very solo, alone practice. And what we do in Krishna Connect is a very celebratory, connective. It's a combination of a karma and bhakti practice. So, moving into the 54th sloka. Once situated in the transcendental Brahman, realization becomes mentally serene, neither grieving nor desiring. Being equitably disposed toward all living beings, such a yogi attains supreme devotion. Bhaktim labhate param. Now we'll just go through this. It's an important shloka, I think. One situated in Brahman. So the ultimate realization, mentally he becomes serene. Shochati, he's neither grieving, kankshati, desiring. These words have come up, I think, in chapter 2. Um, and he's in that samatvam. He attains to param bhakti. This param bhakti is it's a very beautiful thing. Osho has explained it very nicely. So first we will go through what Swami Mukundananda says. Swami Mukundananda, and I'm copying this from his commentary. Listen to this. The Jnanis are often fond of saying that bhakti is only to be done as an intermediate step towards Brahman realization. Okay, there is this huge conflict that keeps running in spiritual literature between Jnani and Bhakti, the Jnanis and the Bhaktas. They claim that bhakti is for the purpose of purifying the heart, and at the end of the journey, only Gyan remains. So if you're listening to Swami Sarvapriyananda, he's pretty much like this. Okay, you need to do bhakti. These are like precepts, do upasana, but it is Gyan. It is that transcendental. They're very knowledge oriented. Thus, they recommend that those who possess a strong intellect can ignore devotion. Okay, this is Swami Mukundananda saying that they can ignore devotion and simply cultivate knowledge. This is how they feel. But the above verse negates such a viewpoint. Everybody is very busy trying to prove and show evidence. You hear this in Swami Prabhupada's commentary, you hear this in Swami Mukundananda's commentary. I'm proving to you, Krishna has said bhakti is the highest. You this is just as a perspective on the different commentators who have spoken on Bhagavad Gita. Sri Krishna states that having attained the highest realization of Gyan, one develops Parabhakti. So you will come into high states of Gyan and then you will move into Bhakti. This is how he is saying. If you listen to Swami Sarvapriyananda, he will say the reverse thing, the Advaita followers. They will say, first you do little bit of Bhakti, purify a little bit, then Gyan will happen. Now he gives the example of these four, these sages, and he says they were all jnanis, okay? First he speaks, he says in Satyug there was Sanatan Kumar, Sanak Kumar, Sanandan Kumar. They are all children of Brahma, okay? So they were all great jnanis, and it is said that once they went to Vaikunt, when they went to Vaikunt, the tulsi that was being offered at Vishnu's lotus feet, the fragrance of that tulsi created an ecstasy in their heart. It was so strong that they just wanted, they became attached to that form of Vishnu and that fragrance. They said, just for this to be, in this, to soak in this divine bliss, even if we have to go to hell, it is fine. So these were jnanis who became attached to form and rupa of Vishnu. Okay. Then he gave the example of Janak. He says in Treta Yuga, when Vishwamitra came with Ram and Lakshman, and in Ramayana it is quoted that, when Janak heard about Ram, he became attached to that form. He was a Gyan yogi, but he became attached to the form of Ram and, that divine uh, flavor that came from that attachment and the taste of bhakti. He moved into that realm. Then he speaks in the Dwapar Yuga, Sukhdeva. So Sukhdev is the son of Vyasa. And it is said that he stayed in his mother's womb for 12 years. He didn't want to come out. And so he was a great yogi, right? Like, he was an evolved being. So finally, Narad Muni whispers something in Ved Vyasa's voice, and this child decides to like come out. And when he comes out, based on his yogic power, he's able to transform himself into a 12-year-old boy. Once he does that, he immediately goes away to the forest and he takes samadhi. Then the story goes that Ved Vyasa sends some of his disciples to the forest and they go and whisper some, what do they say? They say something in his ears. And mm, he told them to recite a verse in Sukhdev's ears describing the beauty of the personal form of Krishna. And that created such a deep attraction in Sukhdev's mind that, sorry, again, I've gone into screen sharing flow. Sorry, I have my audio that went in. On current slide. Right. So Sukhdev hears about Krishna, and he is so attracted by that personal form of God that he leaves his samadhi and goes back to his father, and from him then he hears the Srimad Bhagavatam. I think Sushma had also mentioned, how Ved Vyas, even though he wrote all the four Vedas, he told, who did he tell? It was Narad Muni, this one. Who did he tell that I still don't feel satisfied and I don't
Hmm.
feel content? Was it Narad Muni? He tells
Yeah, to
Narad
know.
Muni that I do not feel content. Why is there that sense of still as if something is empty? There was a dryness that he felt. So then Narad Muni told him, you must sing the glories of Krishna. And he told him to write the Srimad Bhagavatam, and only in that he found fulfillment. So that is another example of how a jnani does not find completeness and fulfillment only through Jnana Yoga. If he does not immerse himself into the juice of divinity, that fulfillment and that satiation doesn't happen. So even though knowledge and knowing is there, but it's like the juice, divinity and emotion is the juice of life. And if you don't have that, everything is very dry. You may know, but within yourself, you may still feel incomplete, not fulfilled, which has also happened to Vedavyasa. So, and then in Kali Yuga, we have Adi Shankara. So, Adi Shankara, we know, was a great Jnani, scholar, everything. He's written so many treatises. He was the greatest debater, but he is the one who writes about, who is the one who speaks of Bhaj Govindam. In Bhaj Govindam, he says all these rules of Sanskrit grammar, all this standing upside down, nothing will help you. Only thing that helps is the name of God and sing the name of Krishna. So he is somebody who is talking like that. And then he is the one who has written Saundarya Lahiri. How many of you are
Hmm.
familiar with Saundarya Lahiri? You're familiar? So Saundarya Lahiri, you will be amazed. Okay, so Adi Shankaracharya is a brahmachari. Okay, he passed away at the age of 32. But he has written Saundarya Lahiri, which is in praise of the Devi. So this is actually a part of Sri Vidya studies.
Hmm.
Saundarya Lahiri falls in the Sri Vidya studies. There are two parts to Sri Vidya studies. One aspect of Sri Vidya studies is the Kaula Charya studies. The Kaula studies is very externally based, where you will go out into a pilgrimage, you will go to a place and therefore try to come into that experience of God. The second, there is a left approach and the right approach. Okay, so this other approach is the Samayacharya. So Adi Shankaracharya followed the Samayacharya, where everything is within. So all the places of pilgrimage, the Devi, the God, the Krishna, everything is within you, which is what he followed. So he has written Saundarya Lahiri, which if you read, you will be shocked that it is written by a man who's a brahmachari who praises every part of the body of the Devi. Every part of the body of the Devi. It can be some people who are not familiar or don't understand will be either scandalized or cannot understand how can someone like Adi Shankaracharya talk like this about the Devi. But for him, it is not the Devi outside. He has experienced her within himself. It's from a place of deep experience and the ecstasy that this union with the Devi creates in him, which is how he has described. So I've not read all of Saundarya Lahiri, but I remember Sadhguru had once mentioned Saundarya Lahiri in one of his satsangs. Just when I bought this book, and Srija and I were exchanging, comments, and it was so strange that I went for this satsang. And in his talk, he just happened to speak of Saundarya Lahiri, and I told Srija, "Oh my goodness, are we in sync or what? He just knows. He never speaks of books. He doesn't speak, but just that satsang he spoke of Saundarya Lahiri. So just a few days back, I had picked it up saying, I must look at this. So, so that is the Tantra way, okay? It's the whole aspect is about, you, you know, so Tantra is both science and also in samsara, how do you see God? Visualization is a very important aspect of Tantra. I'll share two excerpts from that book, which was so, I actually marked it thinking I will share it on Krishna Connect because that is what that practice is. He says it's about visualization. You just have to
Hmm.
see, not think, not by thinking, but by seeing and looking. you will come into that experience. So that is Tantra. Now, and that's why they say, like some of these studies, they say if you, so, you had done a circuit diagram. So the yantra is like a circuit diagram. So Sri Vidya is a yantra. And initially they say you just keep looking at it. You don't do anything. You just simply look at it. Like Linga Bhairavi Devi also has a yantra. If you look at Linga Bhairavi Devi photos on top or in the temple, if you go on top, there's a yantra. The yantra is a bindu. Then there's a downward facing triangle, which is the downward descent of the Devi. It's then it has a circle because when the triangle, which is the basic form of energy, begins to move, it takes a circular shape. Then that circle is connected to the four doors, north, south, east, west, and that's where it's like in the bindu, and the Devi helps you to capture Shiva consciousness. So it's very interesting how the yantra is a visualization of the whole movement of consciousness. And okay, moving on. All right. So Parabhakti. Osho speaks of Parabhakti, which was introduced here. So what is Parabhakti? Is a neither grieving nor desiring, being equitably disposed towards all living beings. Such a yogi attains supreme devotion unto me. Only then you come into Parabhakti. What is Parabhakti? Osho says, when bhakti is not your sadhan, but it is your sadhya. You are not doing bhakti for something. Oh God, do this for me. I will get this out of you. Or I am going to do bhakti because only if I do bhakti, I will get liberation. If you want something from bhakti, then you are not into parabhakti. Bhakti is for the sake of it because this is my pleasure. This is what gives me fulfillment. I don't want anything out of it, just the process of it. So, those of us who did Krishna Connect many times, when we were drawing, when we were singing, when we were painting, that process itself was enough, isn't it? It was not about I want to get something. In fact, it was not even about the submission. Oh, submission to hoi jaga. That was just an excuse. See, the submission and the strictness of that practice is only an excuse to make you do something into which you will not otherwise put your mind or time. Life is made of time. James, my teacher, was very sweet. He said something very, very, very valid, very valuable. So he's so much into singing and bhajan. He's big into bhajan and kirtan. He says, and the more you put your time into it, the more you stay out of nonsense and out of things that you should not be doing because now your time gets devoted to this. That is why those tight nuts and bolts of a practice and sadhana help. Because if we are left on our own, yeah, I will do it, but the tightness is not there and leakages happen. Then where is your time going? Life is time, it's just passing. It's passing. You finished all this time has gone and now we could have put it into this. Now you're forced to put into it. It's not that you don't enjoy, but it's like I have to do. It's like it takes priority. Otherwise, these things don't take priority. So when you are doing something, when you are in bhakti for the pure pleasure of it, that itself is so blissful. Bhakti itself is enough. Only then you are into what is called as parabhakti. So do you want God or do you want something from God? This is what a bhakta. Do you always keep asking this? Do you want God or do you want something from God? If you want something from God, you are still, in your nascent stages. But if you want God Himself, then you have come into parabhakti. That wherever you are, I want to be there. That is it. Nothing else I want. So if you
Swati, I remember, I don't know which chapter. Um, Jignasu, there are four stages of bhakti in the Bhagavad Gita, one, I don't know which chapter it was.
hmm,
Um, in that he says that starting ones, okay, you ask something from God, no problem, but then you have to keep moving. There's a word Jignasu, that's what it gave.
Jigna,
There are four.
I just remember the front
Uh,
from Yoga Sutras, Jigyasu, and then it goes into Mumuksha.
Correct. That is there in Bhagavad
Mumuksha,
Gita also.
huh,
Mumuksha is the last one.
correct.
Yes,
But
yes.
more than bhakti, I thought it was connected to intellect, like your longing and your desire. So Jigyasu is just someone who is asking for like, curious. like kutuhal. Sorry, first is kutuhal. Kutuhal is someone who is just asking questions, just for the sake of it. Like children keep asking questions, no? Why does the sun rise from east? There are no
Mm,
answers to this. It's like it is
mm,
so. So it's like kutuhal, just for the sake of questions you're asking. This kind of a person is just digging, like wells unnecessarily. Then you have Jigyasu, who is curious, who wants to understand.
Second.
He is intellectually strong. He wants to understand. He wants to solve life like a puzzle. But life is a mystery. Then the third is Mumukshu.
Mm,
Mumukshu is someone who has such fire and such intensity that he will go to any extent. That this is it. उसको और कुछ चाहिए ही नहीं. Everything is towards. And in Yoga Sutra, when we did Mumukshu, within Mumukshu also there is so that Tivra
levels.
Samvega Nam Asana Mridu Madhya Adhimatra.
Mm,
So Mridu
mm.
is the basic, very like
Madhyand.
low intense. Mridu,
Mm,
Madhya is medium
Madhyand.
intensity, and Adhimatra is
Adimatras.
very intense. So
Mm,
based on your effort and your desire, your mumuksha, that is how close you are to your goal, where Maharishi Patanjali explains this to us. But that is what Mumuksha is, someone who's longing, he's on fire. Basically, he is on such fire that he will not suffer. Nothing else matters to him. This is all that he cares about. This is what reminds me of, like, that the Bhakt Narsi Mehta. He's so absorbed in God. His wife tells him to run an errand, and there is some bhajan kirtan happening on the way, and he forgets everything that his wife says, and he's involved in that. He forgets. He's so absorbed in God. That is all that he cares about. So that is a level of mumuksha. It's like, what will I not do for this? It's
mm,
not about what can I do. It is what will I not do. It is that level of intensity. Okay. So when someone comes into Parabhakti, Osho says, then there is no difference between Bhakt and Bhagwan. Then they merge. And ये बहुत like among the bhaktas, I hear this, Bhakt और Bhagwan में कोई अंतर नहीं है. But the Bhakt has to reach this level of Parabhakti. So if you want moksha or anand, then you are not in Parabhakti. We are all still beggars. God give me this, God give me that. So in Bhakti, Bhakt and Bhagwan are different. In Parabhakti, Bhakt and Bhagwan become same. Uh, Akanksha, sorry, desire is what Akanksha is what divides Bhakt and Bhagwan. Some desires still remain. The seeds have not yet burnt, okay? Only by loving devotion to me does one come to know who I am in truth. Then, having come to know me, my devotee enters into full consciousness of me. Now, secret of that personal form cannot be known through karma, jnana, ashtanga yoga. Swami Mukundananda will say that. So, Swami Mukundananda, is like always, uh, for him, he's always showing us that Bhakti Yoga flag. Swami Prabhupada is always like this. Bhakti Yoga is the best, baki sab bekar hai. So it is love that opens the door to the impossible and makes way for the inaccessible. Devotees understand God because they possess eyes of love. So devotees understand God. Now we see God in certain colors and whatever, if you've done Krishna Connect, you start seeing God, right? It is a very unique language. If I go and tell this to somebody who is not engaged in this practice or who is not, it is because we all study together. We are in a satsang. We have common lenses. Correct? If I see that, you will also see. But you go and tell this to, say, just another Krishna devotee, they may not even understand. They क्या बोल रहे हो? इसका कोई sense तो मतलब okay, they will not feel it. It is your unique drishti. So do you remember it? How we did this, and what was this? I think it was the seventh chapter. That bhakti is a matter of drishti. If you don't have the drishti, bhakti is not something that can be taught. It's just a drishti. If you don't have that drishti, you just don't have that drishti. It is a quote in you, it is a fault in you. And in that chapter, see again, I've forgotten the name of the chapter. I also need to do some rectification. So, Krishna says that Arjun, I am going to share Raja Yoga, the secrets of Raja Yoga, where he says, I will share the secrets of Raja Yoga with you because you have that drishti. And then he also gives him the Divya Drishti to see him. He says, because you have trust. It is only when you have Shraddha, only when there is trust that the bhakta's drishti becomes available to you. नहीं तो आपकी दृष्टि में खोट है. Oh, prove it to me. If you can't prove it to me, then it is not there. It is not that it is not there. Your drishti is khoti. You are blind. It is not that it is not there. And nothing can be done to prove it to you because God cannot be proven. It is just something you can experience, you can see because of your own wiring with Him. All right. So 56. My devotees, though performing all kinds of actions, take full refuge in me. By my grace, they attain the eternal and imperishable abode. They see everything in its connection with God, which is what we were doing in this practice. So at one point, we had done this practice like this, that, and this was really, these are the principles on which that Krishna Connect practice is based, where I'm saying stone is your cue today. And you have to connect Krishna to stone. And how will you see Krishna in stone? Sadhguru bolte hai na, you say, you love me. Can you see Sadhguru in everyone today? Very hard. I tried it for 2 days. I failed miserably. But it's easier to see God in nature or be able to connect rather than human beings, because human beings are always changing. So much vritti, it becomes difficult to see them in, human beings across the board. Very difficult. So you give a cue. Okay, so today's cue is stone, or today's cue is water, or simply soap. Now, how will you connect this to Krishna? This is what it is. They say everything should be seen in its connection to God. That's how you build your relationship with God. That this samsara is a manifestation of God. It is His creation. This is His srishti. So how will you see Him? How will you connect to Him? Dedicate your every activity to me, making me your supreme goal. Taking shelter of the yoga of the intellect. Keep your consciousness absorbed in me always. This is what that practice is doing. In the morning, you get up and you're thinking, okay, what am I going to do today? What am I going to do for Krishna? Where is your mind? Your mind is on Krishna, which is such a good thing. And remember, and now that the practice stopped, my mind is not there. It is just not there. I can see the difference, I'm not doing it consciously. Yes, it comes and goes, but it is happening by its own tendencies, not in my conscious effort to keep my mind on Krishna is not there. Something else or the other keeps taking over. Then you're thinking, how do I do it? How do I make my mind one focus? So there is an ekagrata that happens there. So keep your consciousness absorbed in me always. Now, there is one very nice thing which Swami Mukundananda said. This is more from an intellectual perspective, and I just wanted to bring, because we keep speaking of Antahkaran. It has come in Yoga Sutras, it comes in Bhagavad Gita. He says it like this. He says, Antahkaran, when it is attached to thought, it creates the mind. When Antahkaran is attached to analysis, it creates buddhi. When Antahkaran is attached to objects and persons, then it's creating chitta. When it is attached to the body and you start feeling very proud, then it becomes or manifests itself as ahamkara. It's just for understanding, okay? This is just like a knowledge, information based kind of a thing. So Buddhi Yoga means developing a resolute decision of the intellect that all work and all things are meant for the pleasure of God. For such a person of resolute intellect, the chitta easily gets attached to God. So this is from Swami Mukundananda. If you always remember me, by my grace you shall overcome all obstacles and difficulties. But if, due to pride, you do not listen to my advice, you will perish. See, all these translations sound so, they're so blunt. And they have no, I don't know, I find them so blunt. Uh, that's why I like how Osho explains some of these. Okay, another thing I wanted to share here is Swami Mukundananda's commentary. He says how you see your body, mind, intellect as the energy of God, and see all your material possession as His property. And basically you see the whole Srishti as a manifestation of Krishna himself, and then see yourself just as a servant of God. Is whatever work that you are doing here, you don't need to give it up, and don't need to be proud of doing whatever you're doing, because it is Krishna who is making you do it. So that's how Swami Mukundananda has explained these shlokas. Now, संपूर्ण, ये दिस इज फ्रॉम ओशो, संपूर्ण कर्म करते हुए मुक्त हो जाता है. सो द वन हु कीप्स हिज माइंड अब्सॉर्ब्ड इन मी, ओशो सेज, वो अपना पूरा काम करते हुए ही विल कम इनटू मुक्ति. So Osho is very big on this. He says escape is not the way to mukti, which is what Arjun wanted to do. He wanted to run away. He wanted to take sannyas. So Osho gives this example of a Jain monk. He says he knows of this monk. He said, so this he was a Hindu who became a Jain monk, and he says this always happens when you leave one dharma and go to another dharma. Then that dharma actually has a case in point to say how they are better than Hinduism, because see, someone from the Hindu tradition came to to Jainism. So when this Jain monk's wife uh, uh, died, the words that came out of his mouth were "Chalo jhanjhat chuti." So if he had left her, he had taken sannyas. It had been 30 years since he was a sannyasi. The words that come out of this man's mouth is "Chalo jhanjhat chuti." So he says 30 years he has left his wife and he still considers her a jhanjhat. That means deep down somewhere inside there must have been an attachment. Besides the fact that he calls her jhanjhat, there is a lot of himsa in that. There is such violence in using a word like that for his wife. Whatever, कुछ उसने करा नहीं, उसने जाने दिया, फिर भी he's using words like that towards her. In some way, he is saying, uh, in some way, Osho says that this idea must have been in his consciousness, he mar jaye. Because now that she's no more, he's saying, Jhanjat Shuti. Isn't it? He's looking at it very deeply. Even at a very subtle level, a small seed remains. When we say it sounds very big, maybe it was subtle, maybe he didn't like mean it in a big way, but एक छोटा सा वो seed तो रहा होगा. नहीं तो ऐसे शब्द नहीं निकल सकते मुंह से. तो तो ओशो सेज जो भाग कर मुक्त होता है वो कभी पूरी तरह से मुक्त नहीं होता है. सो दिस काइंड ऑफ संन्यास विच यू टेक by leaving and by pushing the samsara away, he says you will never really become mukt. These seeds really remain, they just get suppressed. So that's what in her earlier chapters Osho had explained how there are these monks who go to the Himalayas. Swami Sarvapriyananda speaks of them, and then the moment they come back into the marketplace, there they are sitting, they are very peaceful, nothing disturbs them. Bring them to the marketplace, all their meditativeness is lost. Anger, anger comes back, all these negative emotions surface. So it's not that they have been able to burn those seeds at all. So, so Osho says, छोड़ना और छूट जाना is very different. In Chhoot Jana, you are not there, because then your understanding has grown so much कि कुछ छूट ही जाता है. It's that same. I really like that example which he gives, that at the age of 18, you are not playing with your toy cars. छूट जाता है. It's not कि तुम छोड़ देते हो, you don't decide and make up your mind, oh, I'm not going to play with my dolls anymore. At 16, I'm not deciding, oh, I don't even care about it. It's irrelevant. Correct. That's what he's saying. For this Jain monk, if it was genuine sannyas, he would have never bothered about the wife. Now, like, why? Why make a big deal out of it? Buddha also left, no? Buddha also left. But he's not, there is no attachment there. He's left because इन सब चीजों का कोई मतलब ही नहीं था उनके लिए. वो छूट गया. उन्होंने देखा, उनको लगा इसमें इससे कुछ, I will also, all this will happen to me also. I will become old. I will also suffer. I will also die. What's the point of all this? There is no point in this. Just like how we see, what is the point in dolls and playing with toy cars? वो छूट गया. वो छोड़ा नहीं, वो छूट गया. So I like how he had explained that. Be absorbed in me, Krishna says. If you feel you cannot listen. Sadhguru बोलते हैं ना, if you sit too much with I know, Manoj हमको बोलता था, you're doing Trikonasana today. Today you do Trikonasana as if you don't know Trikonasana. And we had all been like, every day we would practice Trikonasana. Or you tell me, even in my sleep, I can go into Trikonasana. And then there is so much knowing. Na? I know Trikonasana. Of course, I know where to put your hand, foot, what's my alignment like. So he says, no, you go into it's a space, it's a sacred geometry. Trikonasana, any asana is a sacred geometry because now you have created your circuit. Your asana is your circuit. And now the energy is your consciousness is moving in that circuit. So there is always something new to discover. This is what Tantra is. This body is the yantra. You can have external yantras, but your own body can become a yantra. And asana, whatever kriyas that you do, initiations that you have, can help, can intensify that. So once you take that circuit, how is consciousness moving? So in Hatha Yoga, which is actually a part of Tantra, they say mind into energy and energy into the breath. Mind into the breath, breath into the energy. How all of these three sort of coalesce, and then something is rising in your consciousness. Like, in asanas, people can have very intense experiences. Some people can, I have seen people who can break into tears, or you just have a moment of epiphany. It can happen because now you have placed yourself in that yantra, and consciousness is moving in that direction. Of course, it takes practice, it takes a certain amount of concentration, absorption, and intensity. How, yeah, are you doing this as an exercise, or are you doing the same practice every day? Is it like, then it becomes powerful. Then, like Manoj used to say, when you do the same practice regularly, it will become very potent. Which is why, like, you know, I I I like the classical system where you have Surya Kriya given to you like that, where it is Hatha Yoga. It is just those 21 asanas, and you're beating those 21 points in your body all the time consistently. So in those practices, the physical benefit is almost like it's just a side effect. What you're actually doing is something else. Physical benefit will happen in any case, but that's just a side effect of the practice. So you don't do it for bodybuilding. Of course, you do it, it takes care of that because the body is needed for the kriya to happen, for meditation to happen. Now, ahamkar creates deafness. You will not be able to listen to me. Krishna just said that, right? Krishna said that if um, if due to pride you do not listen to my advice, you will perish. So ahamkar creates deafness, and then you will be a wasted life for yourself. And we have heard Sadhguru say this so many times. Don't waste your life. And Krishna is inside you, from where Gita can begin again. Just listen. This is what Osho is saying. He's not just listen. It's all antarmukhi sort of approach. Samarpan sutra hai, ahamkar badha hai. This is from Osho. That's what I gathered in his 1 hour of talk. Okay. So one question that also was asked was also samsara is easy without sannyas and vice versa. It is logical. But one without the other is incomplete. Please explain. Osho says that. Sirf samsar is incomplete without sannyas. Without sannyas, samsar. He says both go together. So people ask him because the ancient definitions of sannyas is samsar छोड़ दो. जो संसार में है वो संन्यास नहीं लेता. This is how it is traditionally understood. But Krishna gives a new definition of sannyas. He says, samsar mein rehkar sannyas lo. This is what Sadhguru means when he says undercover yogi. Within yourself, you should be a sannyasi. What you do on the outside is just transactional life that should go on. But within yourself, you can be a sannyasi and still live in this world. This is the definition of sannyas that Krishna gives in the Bhagavad Gita. It's a very bold definition. It's a new type of sannyas. And it is what Osho has called Zorba the Buddha. The man who celebrates, he's the Zorba, but he's the Buddha, he's the enlightened one as well. It's like what has always been divided into two extremes has come to coalesce in this sannyas. Now, if you have to leave something, then Paramatma is not fully acceptable. That means something was worth leaving. Okay, if you're taking sannyas, you're saying, मुझे ये घर छोड़ना है, मुझे ये पैसा छोड़ना है. I have millions of dollars. I will leave all this and I will take sannyas. That means this, but understand that this srishti, this creation has also happened through Paramatma, correct? So you are saying something which was created by Paramatma is not acceptable to you. That something is worth leaving. So Paramatma is worth leaving. There is an aspect of Paramatma that is worth leaving for you. Now, Osho is very cute. He says Paramatma has not taken sannyas from samsara. No? He keeps creating samsara. Every day he is busy creating samsara. He is creating more and more of samsara. So we have become the kind of people who will criticize the poetry and praise the poet. करेक्ट. हम परमात्मा के पास जाना चाहते हैं इसलिए हम संन्यास ले लेंगे. हमको संसार से कुछ नहीं लेना. अरे हम पैसा कैसे छुएंगे? हम पैसा छुएंगे तो संसारी लोगों का काम है. हमें हमें पैसा वैसा नहीं चाहिए. बट दैट इज ऑल्सो हिज क्रिएशन. नो, दिस इज ऑल्सो अ मैनिफेस्टेशन ऑफ परमात्मा. सो हाउ कैन यू डेनिग्रेट दैट? Then there are those people who will praise the poetry, but they will deny the poet. They just want to be in samsar. उनको बस ये celebration, नाच, गाना, household, earning money, wealth, बस अर्थ में रह जाते हैं. It's all about earth and nothing else. Then they forget the moksha aspect. So samsaris will say, oh, how can I take sannyas? I have so many responsibilities. अभी धर्म वर्म का काम कहाँ करेंगे? हमें तो बिजनेस में रहना है, मार्केट प्लेस में रहना है. अभी 100% सच थोड़ी बोल सकते हैं. Market place is like this. How can dharma happen here? There is time for it. So the people who are excluding sannyas from samsar or samsar from sannyas, both have a very strong no in them. And you remember Maharishi Patanjali said vitark. Vitark is step one. You have to become a yes, yes, and yes to life. If a no exists in you, you're not ready for moksha. Moksha is a very far cry. You're not even ready for basic chitta prasadanam. So, uh, so Osho has said that samsar is the mirror in which you first recognize Paramatma. Even if it was in a blurred way, you recognize him through samsar. So how can you deny samsar or denigrate samsar? Uh, he says people who say that God, I accept you, but I don't accept your samsar. He says ये तो चालबाजी है. It's like होशियार ढंग से परमात्मा को अस्वीकार कर रहे हैं. परमात्मा की सृष्टि को, that which God has created, you are denying that. So he says one more thing. He says the one who leaves samsar, he keeps himself higher than Paramatma. In his mind, he's higher than Paramatma, isn't it? Because he's saying that your creation is not good enough. I will decide. Your creation is not worthy of, me. I cannot belong to your creation. So it's so subtle. It's subtle and it's deep. Samsar moksha hai, srishti srishta hai. Osho says this, very important. Samsar hi moksha hai. You are not going to find moksha on Himalayas. You're not going to find moksha in the jungle. It is here in the samsar, living in the marketplace. What Maharishi Patanjali also told us. It's very easy to be quiet and peaceful when no one is disturbing you, sitting under the tree. But here to jostle with everything that means to be human, to go through all those emotions, to live with people, and how Sri says, he says, uh, he says something about, to live in the world um, and to keep love as love. The preservative for that is yoga. To be in all those relationships, because otherwise it's like aaj animosity hai, kal enmity hai, aggression hai. These relationships also keep going through their ups and downs. So yoga is the preservative that keeps love as love. So how to jostle with all that and keep that stay established in that state of yoga. then you are in moksha. संसार में रहकर मोक्ष, सृष्टि ही सृष्टा है. So this creation, and this is what, tells, this is for me personally when I read this, is that reminder that Devi is the pathway to Krishna, because Devi is all about samsar. She, Prakriti, what we studied in Yoga Sutra also, Devi is the one who is looking at our, the lower 3.5 chakras are controlled by Linga Bhairavi Devi at least, the Devi that Sadguru has connected us to. And she is responsible for the entire material dimension of life and how well you are settled in the material dimension of life. And he does that and supports you with it so that at least once your material needs are taken care of, then you will aspire towards spirituality. So there is this example that Osho gives. He says there is this sannyasi who lives in the same neighborhood as a prostitute. They are facing each other. And the sannyasi looks at her house, all these men keep coming, going in and out, and he thinks, have I done a mistake? Taking up this life of a priest, just doing this, giving up all the enjoyments in life. Maybe these people are having more fun, so doubt rises because the opposite always looks attractive. Then there is that prostitute who is sitting there and who sees the sannyasi who spends so much time meditating, he's singing the praise of God. He wonders, oh, he has taken so much time to search within himself, to look at his soul, to understand who he is. I have not even tried to know what my soul is. And, he pines at that idea that I don't even know. It hurts her. So Osho says it is not about your physically where you are there, mentally where are you? So mentally, this sannyasi is living in the prostitute's house and the prostitute is living in the sannyasi's house because this is where the mind is absorbed. So Krishna has given a new definition to sannyasi. Live in the samsar and be a sannyasi within. See Krishna in all forms. So Osho says कि आज तुम्हारे कस्टमर में अगर कस्टमर है तो उसमें कृष्णा देखो, अगर स्पाउस है तो उसमें कृष्ण देखो, अगर फ्रेंड है तो उसमें कृष्ण देखो, अगर नेबर है तो उसमें कृष्ण देखो, कजन है, ब्रदर सिस्टर, इसमें कृष्ण देखो. So samsar should be, it is a reflection of Paramatma, and you look for Paramatma, you look for Krishna in that, and this is the sannyas that Krishna is speaking of. So old definition of sannyas has failed because we've heard of this, and Swami Sarvapriyananda speaks of it. Osho has spoken of it. How these sannyasis go up to Himalayas, and then there is no urja left in them. They become so, there is such dryness in him, uh, in some of these sannyasis. Tap, tap, tap. We remember we spoke of those people who are into excessive tapasya. Oh, I can lie down on a bed of nails. Big deal. What have you? It is, there is no point in it. It's pointless kind of tapas because one is swadhyaya is missing in it, and you have not really come into that experience of blessedness and connection with people. In the final states of samadhi, you actually see Ritambara, the cosmic connection, that you are connected to everybody else. And samsari, as of course, cannot think of sannyas. He will say, मैं अभी कैसे धार्मिक हो सकता हूँ. So dharma and samsar link sort of break. And also says, let this beat in your heart. Remember this. We'll go through this one by one. Make your home a temple. Karma should become karma tyag. So there is a whole chapter, Vinay, on this karma tyag, akarma. How to do karma, but be in non-doership. It's like I'm doing it, like work is happening through my hand, but I'm not doing it. He's making me do it. Then it's a karma. Then I'm not the doer. I'm not identified with my action. वो करा रहे हैं, मैं हाथ दे रही हूँ. वो करना चाहते हैं, मैं कर रही हूँ. So that is a karma bhav. Yuddh should become a dharma yuddh. Sangharsh can become samarpan. Karma should become a karma. Search for it in Padarth. Osho says, Krishna ko aap Padarth mein dhoonde. Padarth means Devi. Padarth is Devi energy. All material is Devi energy, and Devi is the doorway to Krishna. So Sri Vidya studies, Tantra studies are really showing you that how Shakti takes you to Shiva. That without Lakshmi's blessing, without the Devi's blessing, you are not coming to Vishnu. You cannot come to Krishna. So, and the reverse is also true, I hear, okay? The reverse also happens, they say. So the Mool Mantra also says, if you want to accept Paramatma, then his creation is the doorway to him. Do not deny or denigrate his creation. Um, I think that is it. Um, so Osho has spoken. He says, his followers and people who come to him, they say कि Osho आप तो संन्यास को भ्रष्ट कर रहे हैं, गृहस्थ को सन्यासी बना रहे हैं. You've heard Sadhguru is being blamed for the same thing. There are people who are in Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu, they don't want to send. My friend, comes from a very traditional South Indian family. Her father did not want her to even go visit the ashram, thinking that they're just turning all these women into sisters and just, brahmacharini ho jayenge kind of life. कि गृहस्थ को आप सन्यासी क्यों बना रहे हैं? This is happening even today. So uh, the point is, Osho says that is not what I'm doing. He says this is an old understanding of sannyas कि संसार को छोड़ के भाग जाओ. Today, he says the sannyas that I'm teaching and I'm showing is that you can be in the shop, you can be at home, and you can be a sannyasi. You can be engaged in wealth creation and you can be a sannyasi. So he says संसार को संन्यास बना लेना यही धार्मिक होना है. इनवाइट धर्म, तीर्थ की यात्रा मत करो बट तीर्थ को इनवाइट करो. He says परमात्मा की सृष्टि ही उसके स्वीकार का द्वार है. So that's what we said. If you want to accept Paramatma, then it has to happen in totality, because creation is the doorway to Krishna. Accept that choicelessly, and then blessedness happens, and samsar will become your moksha. Osho is asked this question: how do we know how God wants to use us, and how I should allow myself to drop in his hands? Osho actually makes fun and mocks a little bit at this question. He says, why are you worried? He said, you want to know first how he's going to use me and why. He says, why do you want to know this? If God wants to use you, he will use you. He wants to use you in this way or that way, or he wants to throw you in the dustbin. It is his wish. Who are you to choose? If you are saying, I have dropped, then drop totally. No, what is this? Why are you trying to, sit up and say, oh, God is going to use me for this, or God is going to use me for that? It doesn't matter. Wherever, whichever way he uses, it's his choice. Till you become choiceless, you are still an ego. Because then the I is there. Own ego dissolves when you are in choicelessness. So he says you should become choiceless. तुमने अपने को परमात्मा पर नहीं छोड़ा. You have used Paramatma to prove your point. When you are saying, oh, how is he using me, and in which way, and how shall I know so that I will drop? Oh, now Paramatma wants to use me, now I will drop. No, you have to be in a drop state. आप छोड़ दो सब कुछ उस पर. All right, that is it. I don't have anything. Okay. Do you have anything to say or any questions, thoughts?
So just one question. I really enjoyed the Krishna Connect practice. That was something very new to me. Uh, I mean, is it? I mean, now after that, I started my Hanumanji's thing, and is it like something that's designed where there is Ganesha, there is Devi, during the Sera Navratri, we do Devi Upasana and so on and so forth. Is that like kind of baked into our culture, or do you just do something that comes naturally to you, or you resonates with you? How does that work?
So it's up to you. See, some of those things are there in our culture. We celebrate it as a festival. I have come to a point where uh, I can. When it's Ganesha, it starts throbbing, it starts pulsating in me. Ganesha starts pulsating in me, and I will connect to him that way. It's like the phases of the moon. Now this phase of the moon is shining, then that phase of the moon is shining. But underlying all of that is Krishna and Guru for me. For me, it's the Guru Tattva that is supreme. really supreme. For me, that is the highest tattva, and all of this is just manifestation of the Guru tattva for me. It's just the moon showing all its faces. But in your own bhakti, if you have a strong leaning towards a particular aspect, whether it's Hanumanji or Ganesh, you should go. If it comes naturally to you, go ahead with it, explore it, and go fully. ओशो तो यही बोलते हैं कि अपनी propensity देखो कहाँ है, because then that makes it so much easier for you, because that means you have something in your karmic bag. So
Does
it'll
that
propel.
change? I mean, does that change? Does that evolve? Or in your experience, does that kind of remain constant? I'm very new to this, so I'm just trying to understand if that, I mean, I just wanted, felt like doing Hanumanji's thing to me because, his devotion to his guru is the ultimate. So if you want that, who best to guide you with guru's devotion than Hanumanji, right? So that's what
Correct.
kind of led me to that. That's how that started. But I don't know. I mean, I was really having fun with Krishna Connect, and then it just a switch flipped and I went into this different zone. So does that change? I mean, I mean,
It can. I will tell you two things. So I'll share my journey. I'll also ask Sushma to share hers and her dad. So I noticed this with my father. So my father had always been very spiritually inclined. So even when he was in his 40s or whatever, he was reading a lot. He was studying. He was studying the Bhagavad Gita. He was reading these texts and intellectual understanding. Okay, all of that. Then I saw him gravitate towards the Devi. It was so intense. And I don't know, maybe because he started reading up about the Devi or the people that he was surrounded by, and he was in the south that time. He was posted in the south, and a lot of uh, certain aspects of the Devi, the way they were celebrated, he really got into it. Like my mother was surprised. We were in school and she said, पापा को पता भी नहीं लगता था कि कब नवरात्रि आते हैं और कब खत्म हो जाते हैं, because my mother used to do the fasting and she would do it as part of her culture, like Ashtami Puja, Navami. मेरे पापा को कुछ नहीं, and suddenly he went into an intense thing over the Devi, and he would keep all 9 days fast. Every month it came to a point when he was traveling to Vaishno Devi for many years. He was doing this regularly for many years. He did Devi Sadhana. He memorized the whole, that Durga Saptashati, everything. बहुत कुछ करा उन्होंने देवी पे. Then at some point he moved towards this Shabrimala thing, Ayappa Puja. I think for 6-7 years, every year he would go for that. Okay. Then his Guruji happened to him, which is Kripaluji. And with Kripaluji, whatever he said, he began to move in that direction. Bhakti was always strong. See, remember one thing, object of bhakti is irrelevant. It is irrelevant. That is just your tendency. Jahan tumhari tendency le jaye, important thing is within you the sweetness of bhakti exists. वो किसकी तरफ है, वो गणेश है, वो हनुमान है, वो देवी है, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. इससे बदल जाए तो भी कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. It doesn't matter. I will share one more example from Osho's commentary. I should not forget. So then he moved with Kripaluji. Kripaluji said, it's like Radhe Radhe is the way to Krishna, and Krishna is ultimate. And he found his calling ultimately there. That is where he spent like whatever the last 20 years of his life really was, with Kripaluji and his teaching. I will tell you something. In the Bhakti chapters which we did with Osho, there is a very nice example. Osho says कि शुरू में जब लोग भक्ति में आते हैं, mind is very divided. So he gives this example of this woman who carries her statue of Buddha everywhere where she goes, because this is what she believes, her Buddha. Now, once she has stopped at a Buddhist monastery, and there is a big statue of Buddha, but this statue of Buddha is different from the form of Buddha that she worships. Okay, even within Buddha, there are so many forms. So she is lighting an incense. Now she says, how can my incense fragrance go to that Buddha? My incense fragrance should only go to my Buddha. So she creates some kind of a funnel and tunnel or whatever, so that the fragrance remains only for her Buddha. And Osho says, बिल्कुल मुंह काला हो जाता है उसके बुद्धा का, obviously. और हम ऐसे बहुत सारे भक्त हैं दुनिया में जो अपने devout का मुंह काला कर देते हैं because of the way they behave, and they create these hierarchies in their mind. तो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. जहां आपकी इच्छा है, जहां आपकी श्रद्धा है, आप जो करें आप टोटलिटी के साथ करें. लाइक व्हेन आई एम विद गणेशा आई एम टोटली विद गणेशा. I can go to the temple. I did that. It's wonderful. If Devi is happening now, Navratri is coming, my mind gets immersed in that, and it's total. But underlying all of that, for me personally, the Guru Tattva I think has been the most dominant. The Krishna Tattva is very dominant, underlying all of that. So that's an. But yeah, I mean, it can change and it's all right. Go with the flow, explore. Sadhguru बोलता ना, Osho बोलता ना, life is an experiment. You have to experiment. You have to make mistakes. You have to try, but be with it total and give yourself fully to it and follow it for a certain period. Like I've seen in my father's own journey, it's done for a consistent period for a solid number of years. Not like he 5 दिन ये करा, 10 दिन ये करा. No, it is done like for a substantial period of time. Even 1 year is doing something steadily is so much. Doing it for 6, 7, 10 years, it's a lot, yeah. So Sushma, you want to share from your own journeys or your dad? Uncle is a big into bhakti. That is his path.
That I think for my father, it happened around maybe he was 35, 40 or something. But see, that comes from again the parampara. Like for him, he belonged to this. I mean, my parents are Madhvas. I'm a Madhva, and he never did all that. But in our house, there's a Shaligrama, and if you have a Shaligrama in the house, you're supposed to do the puja. But my dad didn't do. One of the gurus, when they had come home during a Graha Pravesh or something, he literally scolded him. So something happened, So he started every day till today. He's never missed it. Even when he's traveling, he carries a little Shaligrama, and at customs, he's made to open it and everything. But that he followed because he had something like from the parampara it came, and he has to follow because he's a man. But then, um, when what I've been reading is you have to try, and then you'll find an Ishta Devata. So, concept of Ishta Devata is if you're going to meditate upon that deity, it's again the same thing, the long term, the same idol that you have. And what do they say? There is a dhyana shloka. Just before the meditation, they do a dhyana on the, say, for example, that Vishnu Sahasranama, there's a dhyanam, it comes. And then they will visualize Vishnu as he has 4 arms and he's so beautiful looking and up to his legs, so that that image is imprinted and you're just staying with the image. So somewhere, I don't know if it was Chinmayananda or somebody said, it can be a donkey, but take the donkey's picture in your head because they're all again Jnana Yoga path. They have bhakti, but then at some point, it is just to get the dharana and dhyana going for samadhi. That's where you have to go and everything falls off. And I think Chinmayananda was saying, he's one of the devotee. One girl had a Krishna statue. She used to take him everywhere, small one. When they'd gone to the Ganges, she was giving bath to him, and the idol went away. So she was very, very saddened. That time he said, like, it went where it came from. So it is given everything to you. It's inside you. You're going after an object, but it's inside. Now it's basically you're saying you have to move at a higher level. See, again, that comes from the Advaitins. So it's not bhakti is again for them a vehicle. Like for my father, bhakti is the thing. He also attended Chinmayananda and all that. He stopped halfway through because it was an Advaita philosophy and he's a Dvaita philosophy. So he didn't make a big argument about it, but in his mind, this was his path. So for me, I always question like what is that path, and I connected to the not connected. I was more curious about the Kida is still like it was there. That's why I went towards the Advaitin thing and exactly what you said in this thing. Shankaracharya is written on Saraswati. He's written on all the female and the male. Shiva also is written. Some people believe he's an incarnation of Shiva and he's come there to give the gyan, just like how Krishna came at that stage. Apparently, the Buddhism was taking over
Hmm.
Hinduism, and that's why That's, I don't know whether it's true, but that's why he came. So coming to the point, I think it's great for some people, like Swati said, and explore with it. And after a while, I think we'll have to figure out for the moksha what it is. That part we have to understand. That part, like, in bhakti philosophy, it is like, if you ask my dad will say he will take me. He has made Lord as another being. For him, in his mind, it's a being. For the Advaitins, there is nothing that.
Mm.
They say God is just superior,
Tool.
a superior person, and you're like your instruments are very. It's like um, I can't see the space with this eye, or I can't see the microbes with this eyes. So we are at this stage. Whereas God has more powerful eyes or whatever. But the Advaitins go into the next stage saying, you are God, which I think that's where the bricks fall off for me. Like, you are that. Remember that in that one of the Upanishads, Shvetaketu, you are that.
Tattvamasi.
You
Mm.
are that Brahman. That I think it has to come to a. So where is the idol there? Where is the deity there? So they don't. Everything falls off at that point of time. So there is a big bifurcation between Dvaitas and Advaitas. Whereas that is the big gap. It cannot be. The philosophies are never the same. So that's why they use this as a vehicle, the bhakti and everything. It's like a boat, and then they drop the boat. My dad says, no, 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 not a boat. It's a house for me. I'll go live with my Srinivasa, he'll say, or Krishna, he'll say. But more Vaishnava. He's probably because of the Dvaita philosophy, they're all Vaishnavas and not the Shiva Bhaktas. That is it. And Vinay, if you notice the Ananta Padmanabha, the picture, that is the best thing which I connect to. I'll tell you why. um, Vishnu is lying down, and from his nabhi, the Brahma comes, and then Vishnu, from his hand, water comes, and it's falling on the Shiva. It's a ulta in the Shiva for the Shivavites will Shivites, I think. They say from the Ganga, from Shiva's water, Ganga bathes Vishnu. It falls on Vishnu and then
Mm.
it comes. So both of them are right. But for me, Ananta Padmanabha connects all the gods. If you see, all the gods are there in that picture, if you notice. Devi is there, Shiva, Brahma, everybody is there. And that for me is the Vishwarupa in one angle. Everybody is there and they're all one and the same.
So, Shushma, you used a word that I've been very curious about and I don't know anything about. Is Ishta Devata. How is that? How do you determine? Is that something you resonate with, or is that something to do with your training or your lineage?
Some
How
of
do you
it,
know your Ishta
yes.
Devata is?
Some of it is, lot of it is trained, like the lineage that you come from. I have a lot of the Iyer friends who are all into Skanda. Ganesha is a neutral god. He's with everyone. Lot of girls don't have Hanuman as the Ishtadevata. Maybe again, it's a cultural thing because, you need to get married. So you have to pray to a god who is beautiful and like Shiva, or they don't pray to Brahma also. um, but a lot of it is that, mainly whether you're Vishnu or Shiva. And sometimes I've also noticed it can go the other way. Like, you follow your husband's, you're supposed to, after marriage, the girls will take the husband's family. That becomes a family god. And it just, see, for me, Vinay, exactly, I'm like you and Swati as well. For me, Panduranga, I just can go into it and I can close my eyes and I can see Vishnu and everything. But they say, at least in some of the meditation practices, it's good to have an Ishta Devata, or you can have a Om practice or something. You just play around, and suddenly it'll settle down. Some aspect will come. Like for Swati, I've known Swati. I've known her dad was a big Krishna fan. At that time, she was not. Today, she is reveling in Krishna and Radhe Radhe. Really, I mean, 10 years ago, Swati was not into it. Today, I can tell that her Ishta Devata is definitely Krishna. So Of course, Guru, that is different, but I'm just saying, in between, she was also Shiva. But again, it changes also, I think. Right, Swati?
Yeah. Shiva has also been very, very
Yeah.
strong aspect for me. Very,
For
very
you
strong.
initially, yeah, I remember. And then
Very, very.
Devi became brave.
Even
Yeah.
now, Shiva, like Mahashivratri, other things. But yes, because with the Bhagavad Gita, and mind gets
Yeah.
immersed into that.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then
Correct.
Devi has happened for me with Sadhguru. And it's
Hmm.
really taken over. It's really like
Correct.
just started growing. I don't see Sadhguru bolte hai na, you can create your own God. Even tree can become the God.
Yeah.
So it's
Correct.
really just go with what resonates,
Hmm.
whatever you feel drawn to. And it is interesting, sometimes life will start bringing you. There was a time when everybody in my house, everybody who came and met me was gifting me a shivling. This happened in Philippines. जो आता था मेरे
Mhm.
को शिवलिंग दे जाता था मेरे घर में इतने शिवलिंग हो गए थे आई गेव इट टू अमीना आई सेड ले जा यार ये क्या है जिसे देखो ये शिवलिंग there was a time even till today buddha everybody keeps gifting me buddha I have
Hmm.
like taken it like given because I have no place to keep buddha so इतने सारे बुद्धा है मेरे पास but it just kept coming बहुत सारा
I
so
think Vinay is an artist, like because he draws and everything, he sees forms. So he's fascinated with the aspect of
yeah
moving inside, not learning, being one with the forms, different forms. That's what I'm thinking. Like because he sees form. I'm not an artist. For me, when I hear the lyrics, I then create the form. That's the difference. For me, I go by the lyrics. When they say that, I can visualize that. But he can visualize it and he draws it, and probably that's why I think.
Mhm.
I think some of it is also the the essence of what the particular deity represents, right? I mean, when I was reading Adi Yogi and Sadhguru is huge in Shiva, right? You get sucked into that, right? And then when we did,
yeah
Swati has been talking about Devi, and then the Krishna Connect, her thing is so infectious. It basically I got sucked into it, right? And I really had a blast. 21 days. It was like a beautiful experience for me. I was
Oh,
really
you
enjoying
were
it.
amazing. Yeah, yeah.
Right? I
Nitin,
mean,
talk to me
I
about
believe it
this
or
Krishna
not, Sushma,
Connect.
I'm not an artist. I cannot draw, I cannot do anything, but
I'll
I
bring
really
you
got
in
sucked into it.
at some point
Oh, this is
So,
beautiful actually. And every day you would see, initially, that's why I was telling Swati, like I would do one and post it for the sake of posting. Literally, that was the thing, like I have to post it. But what I saw with you, Vinay, is you would do two that day and you would post it. You see, it's not for the posting
yeah,
part. It
believe it or
was,
not, I'm a totally left brain individual, and Swati knows I did not have a right brain. So that was all the group and the whole dynamics. It was just something
no, that's
happened. Right? But then Hanumanji has been something has been a kind of constant in all my life, and I kind of that essence of Hanumanji is surrender, right? Nobody connects with his guru like
absolutely.
Hanumanji, right? If you want your guru's grace, who better to teach than Hanumanji, right? So that has been the connection. But I was also worried, why is this changing all the time? Here I am having a great time with Krishna Connect, suddenly I'm with Hanumanji, and then
It's
I
okay.
felt a little weird. It's like, is that wrong?
no
As
but
long as
you
you're not watching Netflix and doing other
No, but you have been
right?
you have a very strong family connection to Hanuman. Like Raji also told me, your wife, your mother, you guys are big on Hanumanji. Even
Uh,
Raji is.
I kind of
He
fell into
also
it at a very young age. Yes, at a very
yeah.
young age
So
with
then
Hanuman Chalis and all
that
that.
will happen. That will happen.
So
Yeah.
what my dad says about Hanumanji is, Ganeshji is again neutral. Hanumanji is prana. Prana is the one that pulls you. So he has to be present everywhere. Without him, nothing can move. That's
I-
what he says.
I'll tell you something. So my father, right from his childhood, he used to keep Tuesday Hanumanji's vrat. And
Hmm.
when we were little, we used to go, Tuesdays, we would go to Hanumanji's temple. His Hanumanji Vrat, he kept right up to the age of like 75 or something till, his health got in whatever way and, medication and everything. Sometimes he would forget today is Tuesday or whatever. Then just, it sort of dropped off. He couldn't keep up with it. The body became whichever way it became. But Hanumanji was like an underlying factor
Hmm.
all his life, from his childhood to like up to his 75, 80. Only last few years of his life, he just sort of, he couldn't keep up with it.
See, but our this thing is so beautiful, right? For they have made it so beautiful. Actually, Vinay, maybe it is a combination of everything. Like one day for each god, and there's those
Yeah.
festivals. So I think again, it is the Vishwarupa only. It's a Vibhuti and the Vishwarupa only. It is demonstrating like everything is a manifestation of that consciousness. That is the thing. Like, um, I mean, it can be even like Shaila posted Jesus, right? It can be, it's just the consciousness part of it is what we have
Mm.
to, again, that's the underlying thing. And this is beautiful. Like Swati said, otherwise it's so dry. Exactly. Consciousness, what do you, it's so abstract, man. You can't sit and think of consciousness all the
Consciousness. Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So
So
this
I,
is
it's interesting to me, Sushma, you talked about Advaita, Gyan Yoga being the Advaita part, and then Bhakti being the Dvaita part. Now, I thought that Bhakti was also part of Advaita. It
it
was the
is.
part of you and everything is one. There is no duality.
So
But then
they
you're
do
talking about Bhakti being the God and then me, as
in
opposed to
Dvaita,
Gyan
yeah, there
being
is.
Tattvamasi.
So in Dvaita, it is separate. Like I will go reach God. The Advaitins make fun because they say, where is God sitting? In another Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha is
Yes, yeah,
another,
yeah,
and you have to go reach there. And so they say everything. So where did the God come from? They keep questioning, and then they go into everything is God. We know that, but then they go into the one consciousness. From there, the Ishvara, the Hiranyagarbha, the Virat, Vishwa, Taijasa, and Prajna. Those are the micro and the macro constituents they have come from. So that's how they are very logical. They're very again, they're very PhD oriented, like, analysis and cut in this thing. So what they say is everything is that one consciousness. See, till then, even I understand that. But then they say that is you. I don't get that feeling that I know that everything is this one consciousness. And Swati also,
yeah,
she's been teaching that and everything. We know that. But that part that I am, that same consciousness, we still feel we are apart. Remember Drigdrishya
yes,
Viveka,
yeah,
Swati?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it is I am the observer, I know all that, but still, in order to come that, they use Bhakti Marg and the Karma Yoga to make themselves, to
mm,
uplift themselves, to purify themselves. They use so many words, and even good.
yeah,
The Swati and I have been discussing this also, like being good, what it entails to do all that. And then they are big, big, big on scriptures and what it, all the Vedas. They are the Vedantins. So they
right,
read the last
yes,
part. So this is another thing. Dvaita, like my dad, doesn't go to the Vedanta part. He stops at Bhagavad Gita because Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all the Upanishads. He
yeah,
never has read any Upanishad, but he's more into the karma kanda part, all the rituals, the doing, and he
yeah,
enjoys that
yeah,
part. And
mm,
so he believes in that. These people say all that is required to refine the human being, but then you have to move to the Vedanta part and then do the Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa, and then that part, which I haven't gone into it, but this is the general thing that um, I am neither here nor there, and I'm
yeah,
always
yeah,
little bit
yeah,
here, little bit there. No, but for me, it makes sense. So I know that I like this, I revel in this, and I think I've progressed as well because I gauge it by how calm I am, or I still have all the things, but I definitely feel that this Bhagavad Gita studies for me, Yoga Sutras did it to sort of it clarified a lot of things, right, Swati?
Yeah, yeah. Yoga Sutra
For
does it
us,
for me
that
even
for
now.
me
Oh,
that was the first
yeah. You get
this
into
thing.
it and it centers you.
No, it's a very
mm,
systematically he's done it.
Very.
I'm saying, I mean, Patanjali has done it very
yes,
systematically.
yeah,
Like it
Yes.
takes you to that thing. So
mm.
yeah.
And then the next question is the Krishna Connect that you've been talking about, Swati. What is that?
So Krishna Connect, because I know Vinay and I have been discussing certain things. I pulled him in, but this is a practice that I opened to people who had not opened. I had to literally force them, motivate them. You don't know how much talking I had to do to convince people to participate. You don't know. It was such a poor response. I had to struggle so hard. The number of messages I sent on WhatsApp, the number of talks I did to just get them to agree to participate. अच्छा कुछ नहीं basic कुछ भी करो. It took a lot of time. This old group which we did like last year we started. I think last year.
Yeah, I don't
No,
even.
no,
Yeah, it
year
must be
before last.
year
I was
before
still
that.
in.
Yeah, yeah.
2 years ago we started that.
Remember
So
we were
this,
singing and all that.
yeah. So I
You sang and you danced with each one. So sweet, Swati.
I did madness.
Yeah.
So this was done when we did chapter 12 Bhakti Yoga as a way to internalize Krishna. So Vinay, I pulled him in because of a certain state he was in. He also followed Sadhguru and he'd been discussing certain things with me and I felt it would help him because he was on certain sort of almost on the brink. I felt it like
Yeah.
he's on the
Yes.
brink and I was like, get
Yes.
into it.
Yeah.
That's why I brought him into chapter 18 of Bhakti Yoga. Otherwise, chapter 18 he's doing with us. He hasn't done any chapter. I said, doesn't matter. You're ready. You come in. Why wait for so long? Because I felt he was like at the brink of a certain energy. Don't waste time. It's all right. wo jab hoga tab hoga.
Yeah.
So I will bring you in when we do this Bhagavad Gita next again because
Yeah.
it takes a different. I mean, I need to do some amount of explanation and all for that.
Yes. Yes.
So
No,
we'll
that's
bring him
fine.
here.
Because I had no background on this. You kept referring to it, and the other two seemed to know what it is, and I had to
So
ask.
in this practice, basically, we tell people that you have to make a creative offering to Krishna every day. It could be a song, it could be dance, it could be a drawing, a painting, but your mind has to be immersed into Krishna. Whatever you do has to be um, uh, done as an offering or as a way to immerse your own mind or consciousness into Krishna and present this and share it with everybody. Of course, people are self-conscious, उसने अच्छा करा, मैंने अच्छा नहीं करा, ये सब nonsense थोड़ा चलेगा. But
Hmm.
after some time, the mind settles down and Krishna
Yeah.
becomes more important than your damn performance, okay? This is
Yeah.
not about your performance.
And Beena, I'll tell you, it happened for me. I mean, I was struggling with it. I and Swati also knows, like, for me, the easiest one was put a picture and then, talk about it or
Yes.
something. And then she
Yeah.
said, you're always intellectually or analyzing or you're connecting. What do you feel? I mean, for me, and then it became very simple. Every day now I'm reading, I mean, new shlokas, understanding or whatever. For me, I get the joy in that. I was telling Swati. So it's something that you feel joyous. And Shaila's is like she'll dance. It's so beautiful. She's really immersed. You can see her in
She
that.
has emerged. She has shifted. In two
Shifted, yeah.
years, I can see a shift in her. She's
Her
really like
movements and
moved.
she's into it. And Rohita singing, my God. I mean, and she's got like the Krishna's coming into
Amazing.
her house and so that's what it is. I did not get the thing initially, and I was very
Yeah.
conscious and everything. And I said, like, I was thinking, oh my God, Swati's brought a guy here, Vinay, I don't even know him. And, I was feeling very shy about it, singing and everything. But then something, it just vanished. I don't know, Vinay, but then I have sent tapes in my, in my voice. And it's just that because he was sending his painting and artist, you feel the joy when you see that,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how people bring in Krishna in their lives. It's just, I felt it was a wonderful thing that Swati did. Now even without Swati's thing, it continues. I mean, for me it is Krishna still, but like when I said, it can be any other. The main thing
Yes.
is, are you with it,
Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
It's a
that
creative
satsang and this
sadhana.
thing.
You have to
I
do
think
something
it's
creative.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's what it
creative.
is.
Yeah,
We'll do
because
it when
when we
you
do
come back.
when we do something creative, we're really involved. I've noticed that too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, instead of just yeah, that's it.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you for that information. Now it
Yeah.
makes
I'll bring you
sense.
in, Beena. हम फिर से जब शुरू करेंगे ना,
हाँ,
then
ठीक
I
है,
will
ठीक
bring
है.
you in. Yeah.
So Beena,
Yeah,
you're
ठीक
going
है.
on a Tirtha Yatra, I heard.
Yes, yes, we are going for
Fantastic.
the Isha Sacred Walks in Varanasi. So we had been wanting to go to the southern sojourn and then we couldn't do it. But then when this came up, and we're going to go to Delhi first, and then from there go to Rishikesh, Hardwar, and then fly to Varanasi for the sacred walks, which is like a 5-day walking tour of all of the different temples and the aarti on the at the
Very
riverbank
nice.
of Ganga. So it'll be really nice.
Very nice. Have a blessed
Yeah.
trip.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
So we're going in the end of November and return in the middle of December.
very nice.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah,
Swati and I have talked about it also, like
पता नहीं हम
yeah.
बातें ही करते रहते हैं
I
करेंगे क्या
know,
भगवान जाने
so many places to go and see,
I
and very,
know.
I think
yeah,
I like this idea. Invite the Tirtha here because
Yes, yes,
that will happen.
absolutely.
I have to
Yes,
invite the Tirtha here.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I one day actually did that, Krishna. I wanted to go for my uh, birthday for the to the Chidambaram temple and all. And Chidambaram is very, for me, it means a lot because consecrated by Adi Shankaracharya, it has Nataraja, Maharishi Patanjali.
Oh, wow.
Maharishi Patanjali also has a temple there. It's Maharishi Patanjali's temple there. And there is the Devi also there. There are like
correct.
everything that I connect to. So I actually did one day one practice in my yoga shala because I have the Maharishi Patanjali, I have the Nataraja, then I have the Devi, and I was like, okay, today's practice is offered as this and that is because it has to come to me. I can't go to it, so it has to come. That's
Well,
it.
this is
Oh,
isn't
no,
isn't it
Swati, we will do
Tulsidas?
that. Chidambaram is very easy to do. You
And if
know,
I'm there, it is easy to do.
no, when we both go to India at the